Hey, welcome to Personal Development Unplugged. It's me, Paul Clough, and a quick heads up to this podcast. It's quite a long podcast, actually, and it's all about the challenges. We said on the last FMQ, I would come through with my personal challenges. And actually, I've talked longer on this podcast about my personal life than I've ever talked before, I think. And I've gone deeper than I certainly intended to. But I think it helps the situation. So please do enjoy. Take your time. There are things that I know will help you here. Whether you're having a challenge or whether a challenge comes up in the future, it will help you. Anyway, I'm going now for a breath of fresh air. I'm going to take Monty for a walk because Mums is not here, and I'm going to leave the rest to you. Come on, Monty.
Personal development, unplugged.
Hey, so this is the PDQ and challenges, yours and mine. Do you remember that 5-minute quickie where we talked about the challenges that we face? And I ask you to put in Jenny Journal to think about the things that challenge you. And I said I'd start with me. And so I've got a cup of coffee here. Might be a long one, boys and girls. And I've also got my tissues just in case I get emotional. You see, I'm quite happy to be totally honest with you about some of my challenges. You see, a long time ago, one of my challenges were that something happened to me and it hurt me very deeply. I've talked about it a few times, but I want to let you know that when things do happen, even with all the resources we think we have, all the skills that we have. I mean, I was a master practitioner of NLP, so I had all those skills with me. I'd been working as a therapist for quite a few years, and so therefore I knew how to work with people who had similar situations that I was experiencing. But do you know what? It blindsided me. It blindsided me so much that things happened in my life that I really hated and made me feel in a way that I don't know how low you can get, but I felt I was at my lowest. It really was a bad time. Basically, I had a marriage breakdown, and at the same time, within weeks, my mother died. Now, if that's not a double whammy, I had 30 years of marriage and Mum died, and I knew her for a little bit longer. Bless. But the thing is, those things happen. Unfortunately, things do happen, and we have to think about them. Certainly think about them if you've gone through them to make sure they never happen again, or those emotions are not experienced again, so you can learn from what happened. And okay, things happen. I can look back now and go, okay, things happened. There was two sides of every story. Everyone has to take their own responsibility. But what did I do? And I'm going to tell you what I did in a minute, because I want to go through a couple of more things. But this is not brushing over the subject, because when I was down, I felt very, very desperate. I can remember being taken out by two of my sons and one of their friends when I was I guess I was in shock, and they took me out for the day to cheer me up. And I can remember that day quite clearly, even now. It was like being in a void or a bubble, and it was like everyone was speaking to me, like muffled. It was so weird. It was like I thought I knew where I was, but I wasn't there. I was inside somewhere, outside somewhere, I don't know. Things were happening to me in my head, and I didn't know quite what I was going to do, but I had to change, and I'll tell you about that change. But I just want you to know that, because it was a challenge. It was one hell of a bloody challenge. And you may have experienced that. You may be experiencing those type of challenges now. Even if the challenges you face are not that big, we can still learn from these type of challenges, the challenges that I had, and use those things that I did, the things that I experienced, to help you go through your challenges. It doesn't matter the size of them, because they're personal to you. And if they're personal to you, then you need to, and if they're affecting what you do and how you feel and how you follow your life and make your life so beautiful, and if it's stopping making your life beautiful, then These will just do the little things. So what else happened? I had another time, and this what really shocked me. I was one of the most confident people at work. I really loved it. I was doing everything, and I was succeeding in everything I did. And then I had a real problem at work. I couldn't handle the politics of a company, because the company changed and the politics changed. And somehow I found myself out of that position. And I've never noticed how confidence can drop like a stone. It was so weird. From one day I would be prepared to do absolutely anything in the work-related basis or in the scenes of work. And then when people were asking me about would I like to do this, would I like to do that, my confidence was completely shattered. And that was interesting at the same time as being, how far, what's going to happen to me? I just don't want to do anything. In fact, I started randomly thinking of all different things I could do, which in some ways was a good thing because I didn't take them up, but they found different interests of the things I wanted to do, but not necessarily at work. But it was how I got over that confidence. And one of the ways I'm going to explain to you now is I had friends come around to visit me. I had a great support network. But one of my friends, whether he'd been there before, I don't know. But it was if he picked me up and he knew what I could do, my capabilities. And in some ways he picked me up and put me in that position and said, off you go. But he also put a safety net around me with different people. So if I did do a wobble, I had people around me. And the thing was, I never wobbled. I just suddenly grew and grew and grew. And the old confidence that I had, actually, I could surpass that quite easily with that. And it was all that, just having one friend that believed in me so I could believe in myself. And now I can look back at anything I want to do. I can just look back at the things I've accomplished and the things I've done from adversity to success, and know that I can do anything, providing I plan and I look. And that's one of the things that's really helped me lately. And we've talked about it just in one of the other podcasts, is getting some routines that you just know are going to support you through the week. Now, they may be health routines. They may be things like setting out your week, knowing what's important, doing the things you know, taking time out for yourself, being honest with yourself and notice that you do need a bit of time to think, to sit with your unconscious mind sometimes. Go have hypnosis and just chill, meditate. These are just tiny little things that if you set up a routine, you are setting up a foundation of strength. And they may not seem very much in their individual rights, but collectively, you're getting a real firm foundation. So maybe just wake up in the morning having a stretch, a proper stretch, then maybe a small meditation, setting out your day, feeling grateful. Notice, the act of gratitude. Some people just go on about it and bang on about it, but it works. How far it works, because it sets you into a wonderful emotion below the surface and allows you to build on that through the rest of the day. And especially if you ask questions. You see, here's one I use so much. So this is one of the tips I'm going to tell you is that just ask yourself, what would it be like to feel X or do X and succeed and have more fun than you can stand? Have fun doing it. You see, if I was going to, I tell you what I do with a client. When I want to work with a client, I will always ask myself, well, what would it be like to have access to all my skills there, right there, and make the most dynamic, wonderful change, help, and say the name of the client, and help them achieve their goals and more they could imagine, and do it all within a period of time, and to have more fun than I can stand, and also have those learnings available to me in the future. And that takes me about 30 seconds to say. And I know from there, that's my foundation done. I'm ready. And those clients of mine, well, they just get more results than they ever thought possible. And that's one thing I've thought about, challenges. We'll do another podcast on this, but bring challenges that my previous clients have had. I'm going to start that again. The challenges that my previous clients have had. So that whatever challenge you're experiencing, or if you come up to a challenge, then you know it's totally possible to succeed, get over that challenge, get through that challenge, get round that challenge, and create a better life. Actually build upon that challenge, really. Learn from it, because when you've learned from it, nothing else can stop you. It's amazing. It's amazing what we can do when we know we can do it. Tiny bit of belief, but sometimes just knowing from other people's experiences. So I'll go into some of my clients' experiences and challenges. That's another podcast. But I was talking about Mum and that issue that I had and how bad I was feeling. What did I do? Well, I decided that, well, okay, I do have skills. I do have some skills. So if I was my own client, what would I do? Now, you may say to yourself, well, I'm not a therapist. You have got the skills because you can find the knowledge. You can find the information. Everything is here on this website. Paul, this podcast and every other personal development podcast. You'll find the information you want if you look with the intent that I know you have. But the thing is, I began to diary the things I did. So I didn't spend a lot of time diarying and journaling how bad I felt, which is what journals tend to end up with if you don't set your intention with the journal. I began to notice how I felt and thought, well, how can I change this? What things can I do right now that will help me move forward? And one of the biggest things that I did was not to try to go from feeling really low to really high, because that jump was overwhelming. It was more the case of going, well, what's that little step? The first step I can take to move from being really low to not quite so low, and then to be not quite so low as that, and then to be fairly just level, and then increase on that to the more positive emotions. Now that one served me so well, and it's also allowed me to give some advice. When you're looking for a goal, I've taken that process out now and thought, well, when you're looking for a goal, you know the feeling. We call it the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And if you know that feeling you'll get when you have that goal, what is it? How will you feel? And that's the feeling of the wish fulfilled. And as you feel that feeling and you're looking at what's the first step I can make towards this feeling, towards this success of this goal, you just say to yourself, well, what's the smallest step I can do and retain this feeling of the wish fulfilled? And that's amazing because you start to come up with so many alternatives. And because they're small steps and they're always maintaining that feeling of the wish fulfilled, they're all success. Everything is success, and you build upon that and you're laying that foundation. But one of the things I really found so useful, and you may want to you don't have to have a challenge to do this one. You see, as I was writing and talking, you see, what I actually did was, I tried writing it down. I'm not a writer. So I began to record what I did. So it was like an audio diary, how I felt and what I did. And that, in the end, became the book that I wrote. It means it doesn't have to feel this way. It's a book about grief and the things you can do to get rid of grief. And as you Google that, you'll find it on one of my websites, and it's completely free to download. But the thing is, one of the things I did and I discovered when I was at one of my lowest points and I didn't know what to do, I got a piece of paper out, and I love mind maps. So I wrote a circle. I drew a circle, drew a circle in the middle, not too big, but big enough to write in. And it said, my qualities. And at the time when I was doing this, I couldn't think of a quality. I had zero qualities. Certainly in my mind and the way the emotions I was going through, I didn't feel I had any qualities whatsoever. But I forced myself to think, come on then, Paul, come up with one, for Christ's sake. I was sitting in my lovely quiet place, because I have my own quiet place in my mind now. But where I lived, I had my own quiet place where I'd go and sit and think. Jenny Journal. So this is where the mind map came from. And I started to think, well, what is it? What quality do I have? And as I couldn't think of anything, I just came up with, you can breathe pretty well. It's not much of a quality, but it's something that I can do, and I can breathe quite well, actually. And I'm alive. I may feel crap, but I am actually alive. So they were the first little lines away from that center circle of my qualities. And then I started to think a bit deeper. So, well, okay, let's look over the past, the good parts of my past, the parts that were positive that I could remember. And I thought, well, I only have to do or have done something once to know I can do it. Now, I'm a one-time convincer, so, have I ever cared for anybody? Of course I have. Cared for Mum, cared for lots of people. As a therapist, you care. You're compassionate. Oh, there's another one, compassionate. So now I'm caring and I'm compassionate. So what other qualities have you got? Have you ever told a joke to somebody? Well, of course I have. Did you make them laugh? Yeah. So I can create laughter. Have you ever laughed yourself? I said to myself. Well, of course I have. So I can laugh and I can enjoy laughing. Because whilst they may not seem qualities, they are qualities. They're qualities that make up the fabric of your life, as it were. And I continue to do this until the whole page was filled up. And it was amazing how the more I set my intention, just kept asking, what else? What's another quality I have? What's another positive thing I can do and have done? And I went through different contexts of my life, social, family. I went through my work, all different areas of my life, and found out things that I had a quality with. And I went below the surface of that. So if it was loving, maybe, I've loved somebody. In fact, I've loved loads of people. Have I received love? Yes, I have. So I can be loving and be loved. Man, that is a core feeling, isn't it? A core part of your identity. Because they're all starting to be, I'm loving, I'm loved. This is my identity now. And I was finding out the positives from me. In fact, it was my unconscious mind was coming up with these qualities. And if my unconscious mind was coming up with them, then they must be true, mustn't they? Because they're positive. I was asking the right questions. And it changed my state from being low, desperately low, to give me like a resonance, a resource of saying, well, if I've got all these, let's access them. What quality would I need to move forward just a little bit? What can I do? How can I do that? Which is the best state for this moment in time? And it was amazing how this just changed my life. And it'll change your life even if you've got a challenge or not, I guarantee it. The old Paul Clough guarantee, personal development unplugged guarantee. Because doing a mind map of your qualities will give you such a real buzz. It will just fill you at your core. And the thing is, when you're down, hey, you can come back to it, read it, move on, add to it, whatever. And you see, the thing is, this was so powerful to me that when my youngest son created his Be Your Potential weekend, a weekend of experiencing how things are stopping you get what you want, and then clearing away the blocks and putting in all the resources that you needed. So it was such a powerful weekend. We introduced this as one of the things we wanted the participants to think about. And as they did that, we got really brave because we said, well, okay, sit down and go through this mind map. We gave them the mind map and they started filling their qualities. And we always say at those weekends, you don't have to share your stuff. You don't have to stand up and say who you are, what you are, and all that. It wasn't that type of, it was a weekend for self-discovery. You didn't have to give it to other people. But we just said, if anybody would like to just share one quality they have, that would be nice. And one person would share. And then the next, and then the next. In fact, everyone started to say, well, I've got this and I'm doing that. And we said, hey, just one moment. Why not take the next 5 minutes to go around the room and share all your qualities to everyone? Because the other thing, what you'll notice is, as you look at other people's qualities or they're telling you them, you'll find that probably you've got them as well. So you add to your list of qualities. It won't be the exact same quality, but you know what you mean. And you could feel the atmosphere in the rooms or in the room at that time. And every time we did it, suddenly explode with such a good feeling. It was amazing how, everyone really connected in a way it was just amazing. Such an amazing thing to do. So there you go. If you only do that one thing, I guarantee it will change your life. It will change your life forever. And it will change your life forever in the most positive, wonderful way. And you see, that came out of the crap I was living, the crap I was feeling. Sorry for that word if that offends you. But I was feeling that bad. And now, I still even got that piece of paper. But now I can, what's it done? It's changed other people's lives. Everyone who came to those weekends, I know those lives have been changed. And this was part of it. This was one of the keys. Is it a big thing? No. Is it complicated? No. In simplicity, there's genius. And this was so simple before I knew that phrase. One simple mind map. And then you start thinking, you see, I did anyway. What other mind maps can I do? And there was an explosion in my head about all the different things I could do. And by the way, it was a good explosion. So this is what I do with now on these podcasts. I'll mind map what I want to say. I'll mind map of the different areas. And suddenly, as I do that, these thoughts come to me and I write them down. Because even the notes I've made now on this podcast, I've come away from slightly. I've gone deeper than I thought I would. There you go. You see, one of the other things I found really important was this thing about creating your routines and rituals. So if you're a little bit undecided about, why your week is never quite the way it is, or you want it to be, or the day is not, here's a little thing. Yeah, we're going to set out a routine. So I'd love you to sit down, say on a Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening. What's the week ahead look like? What are all the things you've got planned? But here's the thing, change it slightly. Look at the things that are urgent, the real important things. Highlight those, because they're the ones you're going to hit first. You get them done. That'll make your week buzz. But then as you look at them, that's not the finish of it. That's just the start. Just ask yourself, as you look at each individual one, maybe in Jenny Journal. I suggest Jenny Journal. Just ask yourself, what's the purpose of me doing that one particular thing? Why do I want to do it? What will it get me? And if it's really important and it fills you with purpose, and it could be that, I have to do this. Yeah, but do you really have to do it? Sometimes we can lay these things off to other people. It's called leverage. You leverage it out to other people. But sometimes you have to do it. And if you're going to have to do it, what's it going to create for you in your life? What is the purpose of it? And what will it feel like when you've achieved it? And really feel that feeling. Again, feeling of the wish fulfilled. And then as you look at each one of those, just notice which one will give you the biggest return on your investment. And if you can, bring that forward. That's the one to really crack. That's the one to, when you nail it, your week is going to buzz. And it's not a difficult thing to do. In simplicity, there's bloody genius again. And this is so simple. It's that uncommon, rare sense of common sense. But you have to set your ritual, your routine. And here's the other important point of this. When you get your successes, just reflect back. How does it feel to have achieved that? Because that's telling your unconscious mind, this is what I love. This is the feeling that gives me the thrill, the feeling of satisfaction, the feeling of contentment, the feeling of, you name it, you get it. And you're telling then your unconscious mind, we want more of this. And you might even say this or something better. Now, there may be something that you didn't quite get as well. And this is one of the most important things. Let's have a look what happened and just ask yourself, what can I learn from this? How can I make it better? How can I make it more fulfilling? How can I make it fill in the blank? And by asking how questions, not why. Why did it go wrong? You'll get a whole load of excuses, a whole load of reasons. We want to be at cause. We want to be responsible. So asking the question, how can I make it better? And then learn from it for the future, because you will. So when you, in your routine, you're planning your week, you'll put those steps in place and you'll build on that great feeling. There you go. I really hoped you've enjoyed this opening up of challenges, as it were. Yours and mine. I don't know what yours are. They were mine. And I've got more, and I will share more with you. We can explore. We can explore these challenges, the ones I face. I'd love to explore some of the ones that face you now. But I'll also explore the challenges of, as I said, my clients. Obviously no names and things like that. But the challenges that they had, how things were just snowballed. Yeah, how things snowball from a small issue that gets overwhelming, and how when we deal with it, the ripples of change go into every context of your life and make every context better, not just where the issue lay, but everything gets better. So that leads us to a lot of exciting things to think about. So I might even do a hypnosis track to go with this. I'm thinking about it. A my qualities and being grateful hypnosis track. What do you think? We'll have to see, won't we? That's another challenge I can succeed in, I know. Well, please take some time to think now. It's been a thinking time for me, and all the notes I made on this podcast have been surpassed by me rambling. Please do share, because the whole point of, this field of learning, integrated field of learning, is that we're all connected in some way. And if we share what we know, then others get the benefit of it. And we don't lose what we know, obviously. But when it comes back to us again, we learn even more. And the thing is, we don't know what challenges your good friends, close friends, distant friends, and family members are having at the time. Because I'm sure you're like me. You try to keep it within that bubble, keep it below the surface, keep it to ourselves. We don't want to burden people. But hey, just by giving them the opportunity, I say, hey, have you listened to this? It's an interesting podcast. Have a little listen. It may just be the thing that actually allows them to change the issue that you didn't know they had. But you'll see the results of it, because the ripples of change will go so far and wide, not only in your life, in their life. There you go. That's deep enough for me for today. Have, as I always say, more fun than you can stand. And enjoy, guess what? Every heartbeat. Bye-bye now. Just before you go, and even different before you go, are you anxious? Do you get fearful? Do you have low self-esteem and maybe unconfident? Because if you are, and if you do, I have some wonderful programs on paulcloughonline.com. And the whole point of my programs are you get to taste them, to try them before you commit to them. Because I want to make sure it's just right for you. Because if it isn't, I really don't want you to come along with me on that particular adventure. We'll find something that's even more appropriate for you. But if you're unconfident, or if you're fearful and anxious, I've got a couple of lovely programs there to help you, and also some wonderful hypnosis tracks, such as Creating Your Inner Sanctuary, Deep Relaxation. There's going to be more titles coming along, so just go ahead there and have a look. It costs you nothing to look, and you may find just the little gem that will create the life you want and help you create the life you want. I think they're really good. I put a lot of passion and all my stuff into it, and I think you'll enjoy it. Other than that, if you would love to share this podcast or my podcasts of all the unplugged ones, share them to your friends, even share them to the people who aren't your friends, the people maybe you don't even like that much, because if they listen to this, they may become the person who becomes your next best friend. Well, that would be different, wouldn't it? So please do share. If you want, and you're feeling really kind, why not go to iTunes and just take 5 minutes to do a review? It would mean the world to me if you did. I'm going to let you go now. Have more fun than you can stand, and I'm going to be looking forward to speaking with you at the next Unplugged podcast.
Personal development. Unplugged.